Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order on the RX 570. To skip to any of the resolutions tested, check the timestamps down in the description. So on this card I'll show you 1080p, 900p, 720p and 1440p. For 720p and 1440 I'll just show you one configuration. By using epic settings on 720p it's easy to stay over 50 frames per second. Then at 1440p there's another story, there's no way to get 60 frames, not even close. So I'll just be toggling 30 frames on that one. Then on 1080p to get 60 frames per second or something close to that target, I'll be lowering post-processing to medium, visual effects to high and shadow quality to medium. Then by just cranking it up to epic, I'm able to be over 30 frames per second all the time. On 900p there's a similar story, we can use slightly higher settings and it's easier to hit 60s. And then with epic settings we are way past 30 frames per second, so there's nothing to worry about on that one. With this being an Unreal Engine 4 game, I was pretty familiar with the options menu, and overall, as usual, the options that affected performance the most were shadows and visual effects and post-processing. Your best bet to improve performance is to lower those three together. Depending on what's on screen, one will affect the performance more than others. In general, shadows and post-processing made the biggest FPS difference, and also there are three options for each of them. You don't have low, medium, high, very high and ultra. You have medium, high and epic. While this makes it easier to just configure the game, I think there's a lot of tweaking potential left behind. I say this because the game still looks great on the lowest settings. There's less shadow distance, lower resolution shadows, no reflections, less complex effects, going from the lowest to the highest pretty much. So yeah, it seems that they wanted to maintain the aesthetic of the game even on the lowest settings. If you play with the settings a lot, make sure to restart the game. There are some shadow distance bugs if you don't do so. Then on the system RAM side of things, I saw that 8 gigs of RAM was enough as long as it's on dual channel. It went over 8 gigabytes of usage sometimes while traversing through different areas. So if you run into that, just restart the game and it will be fine. On the CPU side though, it's a different thing. A quad-core CPU is enough to maintain 60 frames per second in most cases, but there are tons of stutters when going to new areas. You'll see that in the video. When I'm traversing the environment, there will be some spikes in the frame time, which will be even worse the first time you go into a new area. This is not exclusive to quad-core CPUs, but is way more noticeable than if you have, for example, a 6-core i5 or Ryzen 5. Those stutters still happen, but they are not as noticeable, so it seems to be the game just loading something very quickly. So yeah, if possible, try to go for more than 4 cores, but if you don't have a choice, it's not an unplayable game either. And for the testing, I waited to be in an area with a lot of foliage, so that's what I'm showing you in this video. A lot of foliage at the start, then we go to a more artificial place that improves the frame rate significantly, and at the end of the footage there's a lot more vegetation, enemies and effects showing up to really stress the GPU and CPU. And one thing I forgot to mention, the dynamic resolution option is pretty good, at least in my opinion. Just put a maximum frame rate, that is the frame rate that you want to target, then enable dynamic resolution and the game will dynamically adjust it. Of course this will mean a lower resolution, but I found the frame rate to be significantly more stable. I recommend avoiding the 30 FPS cap, it doesn't seem completely well done. It sometimes drops into the upper 20s instead of staying at 30 with dynamic resolution, so selecting 45, at least in my case, fixed the problem. But anyway guys, that's about it. I hope you keep enjoying the video, thanks for watching and see you next time.
Dodge all you want, I'll keep trying.
I've got him. Charge forward.
I need some time, cover me.
I win. Come on. I can't get him. Hit him? Am I all that's left? Bullseye. Is that even possible? take him down. Let's get him. You wanna hit it? Die! I see you, Jedi.
Intruder!
Move up already. Hostile approaching. Affirmative. He's mine. Dodge this. I can't catch him. He's damaged. No survivors. Shoot him. You're not gonna make it. He's got stings. Get up here. He's too quick. How did you kill them all? Bullseye. Strike him quickly. On target.
This one's quick.
I can't watch. He can't keep this up. How did you kill them? He's there, right there. I got this. I got him. Am I even close to hitting him? This one's now what do we do? Don't let up. I don't need help to kill you. I see you, Jedi. That'll sting. Yeah, someone else take a hit. Enemy position reached. Good enough to win? I think he's scared. I think I'm done.
Need a stem.
Where'd you go?
BD1?
There's stems? I'll take him down. Won't take it. I've got an opening.
Attention all units. We've lost contact with our troops stationed at Cargo Pad 119 Greg.
Moving to engage. He's going to end us all. He can't handle fighting us. You killed them all. I found my next victim. I'm going to end you. Hit him already. He's too scared. Am I the only one's gonna fight?
Need a stem. Stim, here.
Target spotted. So fast. Hit him. Blast.
Attention all units. We've lost contact with our troops stationed at Cargo Pad 119 Greg.
Break's over. You going to get away? Someone else get in here. He's hit. He's trying to run. Don't trip. I'll drop him.
Stim, now.
He's using stim. Jedi. At least try to fight. Get in here. He's mine. Hostile approaching. I'll see what I can do. Someone get him. Solid contact. Not an easy target. We've almost got him. Oh look, he's scared. We'll end this quick. Just can't hit him.